Every day, roughly 160,000 people leave this world forever. Their plans stop. Their worries disappear. Their unfinished goals remain unfinished. And yet most of us live as if we have unlimited time. We postpone joy. We delay courage. We wait for the right moment to finally start living the life we imagine. But here is the hard truth. Life does not reward waiting. It rewards awareness. In the natural world, every creature lives with urgency and presence. A bird does not postpone its song until tomorrow. A river does not wait until next year to begin flowing. And yet humans, strangely, are the only creatures capable of wasting their lives while worrying about living them. Now, I do not say this to frighten you. I say it because when you truly understand this simple truth, something remarkable happens inside you. The pressure to live perfectly begins to fade. The idea that you must have everything figured out slowly dissolves. And in its place comes something far more powerful: clarity. Most people struggle through life not because life is cruel, but because they expect it to follow rules it never promised. They believe that if they plan carefully enough, work hard enough, and think long enough, life will eventually reward them with certainty, fairness, and permanent happiness. But life, much like the natural world I have spent a lifetime observing, does not operate on those terms. Instead, life offers movement, change, uncertainty, and if we are willing to see it clearly, an extraordinary kind of beauty hidden inside those things. Imagine for a moment that you are standing beside a river. Not just any river, but a very old one. A river that has been flowing long before you arrived and will continue flowing long after you leave. The water rushes past you endlessly, always moving, always changing. If you look closely, you will notice something fascinating. The water that passes you right now is not the same water that passed by a moment ago, and it will not be the same water that passes by in the next moment either. Yet somehow we still call it the same river. Life works in exactly the same way. Many people believe happiness will finally arrive when life becomes stable, when the chaos settles, when everything feels secure and predictable. But if nature teaches us anything, it is this: stability is rarely permanent. Forests grow and burn. Oceans rise and fall. Entire landscapes transform slowly over time. Nothing in nature stays exactly the same for very long. And yet life continues not because it resists change, but because it moves with it. The river does not fight the current, it becomes the current. This is where many of us struggle. We try to freeze life in place. We cling tightly to expectations. We believe relationships should last forever, exactly as they began. We believe our plans should unfold exactly the way we imagined them. We believe that once we reach a certain point, success, security, stability, the uncertainty will finally end. But life does not promise that. And the sooner we accept this, the lighter life begins to feel. Let me share another image with you. Picture a great oak tree standing alone in an open field. For decades, it has grown tall and strong. Its roots stretch deep into the earth. Its branches reach high toward the sky. Birds nest among its leaves. Creatures rest beneath its shade. It appears completely unshakable. Then, one day, a powerful storm arrives. The wind grows fierce. Rain falls heavily. The ground becomes soaked and unstable. The oak tree bends farther than it has ever bent before. Branches crack, leaves scatter across the field. For a moment, it seems as though the great tree might collapse entirely. But something remarkable happens. The tree bends and bends and bends, and then the storm passes. When the sun rises the next morning, the oak tree is still standing. Not because it was the strongest tree in the field, but because it was flexible enough to survive. Nature teaches us this lesson again and again. Survival rarely belongs to the strongest. It belongs to those who adapt. And when we look honestly at our own lives, we begin to see the same pattern.
People who insist that life must follow their expectations often suffer the most when it does not. They become rigid in their thinking. They resist change. They refuse to accept that circumstances can shift without warning. And reality, as it always does, eventually wins. But people who learn to bend, who learn to adjust, who learn to adapt, often emerge from life's storms stronger than before. They understand something very important. The storm is not the enemy. The refusal to bend is. So the question becomes, why do we keep expecting life to be comfortable, predictable, and fair if every example in nature shows us otherwise? Part of the answer lies in something deeply human, our desire for meaning. We want our lives to matter. We want our struggles to lead somewhere. We want our story to make sense. And that desire is not foolish. In fact, it may be one of the most beautiful parts of being human. But meaning does not arrive as a gift wrapped neatly at our doorstep. Meaning is something we build. Imagine a garden. A garden does not appear overnight. It begins with something small, a seed placed carefully into the soil. At first, nothing seems to happen. Days pass, weeks pass. The ground looks exactly the same as it did before. And yet, beneath the surface, something extraordinary is taking place. The seed is changing. It is preparing. It is growing quietly in darkness. Eventually, one day, a tiny green shoot pushes gently through the earth. Purpose in life works the same way. Many people spend years waiting for meaning to appear suddenly, as if it were a lightning bolt of inspiration. But purpose usually grows slowly, through curiosity, through effort, through patience. You follow a small interest, you help someone, you learn a skill, you explore an idea. At first, these actions seem insignificant, but over time they begin to connect like threads in a tapestry, until eventually you look back and realize they have formed a pattern. That pattern becomes meaning. There is another truth that nature reveals very clearly, and many people find it uncomfortable to hear. Comfort, while pleasant, can become a quiet trap. In the wild, animals that become too comfortable often place themselves in danger. They grow less alert, less aware of their surroundings. Survival requires attention and curiosity. However, humans often treat comfort as the ultimate destination. We believe that if we can just reach a certain level of ease, a certain level of safety, then everything will finally feel complete. But too much comfort slowly dulls our sense of adventure. It softens our courage. It convinces us that the safest choice is always the best choice. And sometimes that belief quietly steals the most exciting parts of life from us. Think about the moments in your life when you learned the most, when you discovered something new about yourself, when you surprised yourself with your own ability.
Those moments rarely happened when everything felt easy. They happened when you stepped into something uncertain. Perhaps you spoke up when your voice trembled. Perhaps you tried something you had never done before. Perhaps you risked failing in front of others. Those moments stretch us. They reveal strengths we did not know we possessed. And that leads to another truth that is both simple and profound. Time is the rarest resource we have. People spend enormous amounts of energy worrying about money, about reputation, about status. But unlike money, time cannot be earned again once it is past. Unlike reputation, time cannot be repaired. Every day quietly disappears into the past forever. The tragedy is not that life is short. The tragedy is that many people do not realize how precious it is until much of it has already passed. But this realization does not need to fill us with fear. Instead, it can fill us with appreciation. When we understand how limited time truly is, we begin to treat it differently. We become more present. We pay closer attention to small moments that once seemed ordinary. A conversation with a friend, the warmth of sunlight through a window, the sound of laughter echoing across a room. These moments might appear simple, but they are the true fabric of life. Another lesson nature teaches very clearly is the value of failure. Watch a young bird learning to fly. It does not succeed on its first attempt. It stumbles. It flaps awkwardly. Sometimes it falls back toward the ground. but it tries again and again and again. Failure in nature is not shameful. It is part of learning. It is information. Humans, however, often treat failure as something deeply embarrassing, something to avoid at all costs. We fear what others will think. We fear the uncomfortable feeling of getting something wrong. But imagine if that young bird refused to attempt flight because it feared falling. It would remain in the nest forever. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the path toward it. When we accept that truth, something powerful changes. We become willing to try again, to explore again, to learn again. Now, you might wonder how we actually live with peace in a world that is constantly changing. The answer begins with awareness. One simple practice can transform your perspective. Each morning, ask yourself a small question. If today were a small life of its own, how would I live it? Suddenly, the day becomes meaningful. It becomes an experience rather than a task to rush through. Another practice is to gently introduce small moments of discomfort into your life. Try something unfamiliar. Learn something new. Speak honestly, even when it feels difficult. These small actions teach the mind that change is not something to fear, but something to explore. And finally, imagine yourself many decades from now, perhaps at the age of 90, looking back on this exact moment. What would that future version of you wish you had done today? Often, the answer appears instantly. It might be to take the chance, to say the words, to begin the journey you have been postponing. Life, when viewed from a distance, reveals what truly matters. And that brings us to the final truth I wish to share with you. Life is not meant to be perfectly understood. It is meant to be experienced. Storms will arrive, plans will fail, people will enter your life and later leave it. There will be moments of confusion, moments of doubt, moments when the path ahead feels uncertain. But there will also be moments of extraordinary beauty, moments of connection, moments when you realize that even in the middle of uncertainty, life can still feel deeply meaningful. When we stop demanding perfection, we begin noticing these moments more clearly. So remember this simple truth. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not failing at life. You are simply living a human life. And human life has always been unpredictable, messy, imperfect, and astonishingly beautiful. If these reflections resonate with you, take a quiet moment to think about your own journey. What truth about life have you discovered through your own experiences? I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments so others can learn from your story as well. And if you enjoy exploring the deeper patterns of life, nature, and human wisdom, then consider subscribing and joining this growing community of curious minds. Because sometimes the most powerful lessons about life are not found in grand achievements or dramatic events. They're found quietly, unfolding all around us every single day.